Baltany is a brand that can't seem to put a foot wrong. They've been releasing banger after banger over the last year, especially with their chronographs. Their first two were runaway successes. Many people regard them as some of the best value for money chronos out there. Will this new model keep that trend going? Let's find out. They went for a different design this time, steering away from the classic military aesthetic of the earlier models to something a bit more modern. You can get this in black or green dials, and it sells for around $150. The case dimensions are going to suit the majority of wrist sizes. It feels really well built and quite hefty for a quartz chronograph. It's entirely brushed, so it looks quite utilitarian, but they've added a nice touch of flair with the bezel. There's a deep vertical brushing on top and a nice polished bevel around it. It looks very interesting, but I'm kind of conflicted by this design choice. The brush bezel catches the light a bit too well. It looks like there's a halo ring around the dial when the light hits it. I just felt like it grabbed too much attention instead of letting me focus on the dial. The quality of the case finishing is decent, but it's not great. The brushing looks quite coarse, and I even noticed some overbrushing near the lug on my unit. The knurling on the crown looks great, and it also gives them a ton of grip. All three crowns are screwed down, and that's gonna help ensure the 100-meter watt resistance rating. Personally, I don't like screw-down chrono pushers. I mean, I like the look and security it gives, but it's just not practical for me. I usually use the chronograph function to time stuff in the kitchen, like when I'm cooking pasta or if something's going in the oven. I know, very adventurous use cases, but hey, that's what I use chronographs for. My hands are usually greasy or wet while I'm doing this, so it takes time to clean my hands, unscrew the pushers, and start the chronograph. I feel like it's just so much more practical when it's not screwed down. But what about you? Do you like screw down chrono pushers? Let me know in the comments. The flat sapphire crystal has a clear air coating to help minimize reflections. The crystals on Baltany's earlier chronographs were some of the best you could get below $500. Most people who own them said you barely notice it's even there. It was just that good. I don't think Baltany used the same crystal on this unit though. It's not bad by any means, but it didn't wow me. So the air coating and clarity here are probably a step down from the earlier model. The dial has a sunburst effect that shifts between light and dark gray depending on the lighting. Chronograph dials tend to look too busy for me, but that's not the case here. The dial on this Baltany looks clean and extremely legible. The handset looks nicely designed and proportionate. There's also a good balance on the dial with that single line of text on the top and bottom and two sub-dials on either side. The dual color printing also helps with that balance. They use the right amount of yellow patina to accent the dial, and it makes it look less busy than it looked if everything was white. I feel like it's a very well thought out and executed design choice. Speaking of less busy, do you feel like there's something missing on this dial? Well, I felt something was missing, and it took me a couple of days to realize what it was. There's no running second hand on this dial. The watch just felt lifeless without it. The only way I knew it was working was when I looked at it half an hour later and I saw that the minute hand had moved. This is not Baltany's fault per se, but it's a limitation of the movement they're using in this watch, which is the Seiko VK64 Mecha Quartz. The left sub-dial on the chronograph is the minute timer, and the right is a quite pointless 24-hour indicator. Sure, you could use the chronograph hand as a second hand if you wanted to, but if you're gonna leave that running all the time, it's going to drain the battery much more quickly. If you're okay with that, that's probably the best solution to make this watch look a bit alive. Now, because this is a Mecha Quartz movement, the chronograph hand ticks at 4 times per second instead of once per second. This gives it a sweeping mechanical look, which is infinitely cooler than a chrono hand that ticks 1 time per second. The top pusher starts and stops the chronograph function, and the bottom pusher snaps it back into place to reset it. The dual-tone lume on this watch glows like a torch. It's surprisingly strong for printed lume. You usually get this kind of glow only on applied markers. Even those tiny subdial hands are loomed and they have the same brightness as the other loomed elements. I have no idea what magic formula Baltany is using for their loom, but it's seriously impressive. This watch comes on a vintage leather strap which is just decent. I put it on this excellent Hobin leather strap that I got on AliExpress, and it looks and feels so much better. I had high expectations coming into this, but I don't think this new release is at the same level as their earlier chronographs. I mean, I like it, but I don't love it. The build quality and value are fantastic, but I just couldn't get used to the missing second hand. And that halo effect on the bezel distracted me more often than I thought it would. If you like the look and don't mind those issues, this is still an excellent watch for the money. But if you think they'll affect you, maybe check out one of these chrono models from Baltany instead. They have better crystals and you'll always know the watch is working because of that running second hand. If you like dive watches more than chronographs, check out my review of the Baltany Retro Diver. That was a watch that really impressed me last year. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.